Hey guys, in today's video I wanted to talk to you about automation in Ableton Live. This includes how to find it, how to use it, and also a quick tip on how to use it for automating track volume control. As always, please hit the like and subscribe buttons if you enjoyed this content. So what is automation? It's creating movement in your music automatically. You can do this manually, but it's much easier to set this movement up to automatically change over a period of time based on where you are in the music you're creating. So, how do we automate in Ableton Live? First up, you can see I have two samples in my arrangement view. I've got a kick and I've got a 303 sample. First thing I'm going to do is add a EQ8 to my 303 sample. Going to give it a low cut. And the idea being I'm going to automate the frequency. I want the frequency to rise as the sample progresses. This can be easily done manually by just moving the frequency dial up and down. But we don't want to keep doing that through the entire duration of our track. So to see automation, hit A on your keyboard. And now you can see your automation lanes. Depending on what it is I have selected down here within my EQ8 is dependent on what will show up here. So if I click the Q or resonance, you will see now I can adjust the resonance. Back up to frequency, and we're back to frequency. This automation line is set to wherever your desired effect or frequency is currently before you start to automate. So what we're going to do is just click in here and then click at the other end of the automation line and just drag it right up. Now, as I play this sample, you'll notice that the frequency will get higher as this line gets higher. Now it's quite noticeable that the loop is restarting here and the frequency is back down to 25 Hz. We can adjust that by just clicking on that to bring it back to its default. Click again, and now in the middle, let's click and drag up. So what's going to happen is as the loop progresses, we get to halfway, the filter is up to 1.9 kHz, and then as the loop progresses, it goes back down to its original position of 25 Hz. Now you could theoretically just copy this automation envelope and paste it through the rest of your track. But there's an easier way to add automation if it's just going to be applied constantly to your sample or your sound. What we'll do is just reset this back to 0. And we'll go over here to clip waveform. And you can see here we have an envelope view. If you can't see that envelope view, just click this show hide envelope box. Now again, depending on what it is you've selected is what will be selected here. So we have frequency selected, and we can see the length of this sample is 2 bars. Let's just click in here. We're going to do exactly what we did in the red automation line in arrangement view here, but we're just going to do it from within the sample. I'll just drag that up. Now what's going to happen over the course of 2 bars is that this filter will rise, it'll get to halfway, and then it'll go back down. So this is a good way to set up automation that is just going to run continuously in the background throughout your entire tune. So let's say you want to have more than one effect or filter running at the same time. This is easily done through macros. In this example, select your EQ8 and then hit Control G or Command G on a Mac to group your instruments and effects. Then we can click this Show Hide Macro Control, and now you can see we've got some empty macro slots. To assign frequency to macro 1, we will just select it, right click, and map to macro 1. Now macro 1 will control the frequency. Now I also want to adjust the Q or resonance at the same time. To do that, we simply right click the resonance and we shall also map to macro 1, which is now called frequency A. Okay, so as you can see, I've selected macro 1, and macro 1 is now selected up here. Let's just do a quick, do that side, and then the middle. Okay, so you can see the frequency is going up and down, and the resonance is getting higher and lower. Now, I'm not too happy with how this resonance is working, so to adjust the settings, we can right-click and edit macro map. Now, I want the minimum to be higher at the start, so I'm just going to drag that up, basically so it's at 0 dB, as you can see here. So as you can see, adjusting up and down, we can set it to where we want it to start. When we're happy with that, just right click and edit the macro map again. I might also adjust how high the resonance goes. So we don't want it too high, so let's right click again, edit macro map, and adjust this. Might just have it about, let's say, there. Right click again, edit macro map. So that is how we can automatically adjust more than one filter or effect in your Ableton Live project. So one other thing I wanted to show you is how to show multiple automation lanes within Arrangement View. Let's click into frequency and just adjust our frequency as we want. And let's now click on our cue or resonance, and you'll see we've now got a separate line for the resonance. Let's adjust that. Now, as you can see, both frequency and resonance are working together. We can only see the resonance lane at the moment. What we can do is go down and click on this add automation lane, and it's now going to show the resonance in a separate lane. Now we can go back up to here. In the drop down, you'll see a little red icon here. That means that there is automation on this particular device. Click on that. And again, if we drop this down, anything with a red icon to the left of it means there's automation. So we're already showing our resonance. Let's click frequency. And now we can see in this lane the frequency, and in this lane the resonance. Okay, so one last thing I wanted to talk to you about was how to effectively automate volume control in your tracks. Let me just clear this. And also, if you want to delete this view, you can just hit the minus button and that will get rid of it. So I'm just going to delete all that out. Now, with volume control, you can actually automate just the volume. From the drop down, you would select mixer, and then from the drop down containing all the mixer elements, you can hit track volume. I'm just going to solo this, so you should be able to hear this quietly come in. The problem that we have when we automate volume is as you're mixing, as you're mastering, as you're building your tune, you might find that this particular sample or instrument is a little bit quiet, or maybe it's a little bit loud. But we've already set up our automation for the volume control. Now what's going to happen is, let's say it's a little bit loud, we're going to pull the volume down a bit, but now you'll notice we have this white line, and what it means is that the automation has been edited or adjusted and won't be the same as how you initially set it up. A quick way to fix this issue is if we just delete that completely. So now we have no automation again. What we can do is on that sample or instrument, drag a utility and use the gain for your volume control. As you can see, I've selected gain, and now gain is appearing in the automation lane. Click on 0 dB or what you've got it set to there and drag it down. Now this is doing exactly the same thing as the volume automation we just did. But if we now adjust the volume, it's not going to affect this at all. So that's a great way to automate the volume of a track in your tune without having it get screwed up when you eventually have to adjust the overall volume of that track.